Tutankhamun's mask is an icon. And I think part of it is because it is made of solid gold, and a lot of people get wowed by that.
Firing a beam of quantum particles at a 3,000-year-old mask might sound like science fiction, but it just revealed a massive royal lie. Everyone's obsessed with the gold and jewels of King Tut.
In fact, you see some suspicious or unusual traces, like the line here, this one here, which cannot be interpreted so easily.
But the data shows the mask was altered in a secret workshop. This isn't just a small change. It is the unraveling of a golden mystery that has been hidden in plain sight. The results are sending shockwaves through the field of history because they prove the mask has a ghost signature. Royal identity swap proven. King Tut died very suddenly when he was only about 19 years old. He probably had an infection after a bad leg break while hunting. According to their strict religious rules, a pharaoh had to be mummified and buried in exactly 70 days. That is only 10 weeks to carve a giant tomb, build 3 huge coffins, gather thousands of golden objects, and create a solid gold mask from scratch. It seems almost impossible to do all that work in such a short window of time. The tomb itself also shows signs that it was a total rush job. It was very small for a king and much smaller than other tombs in the Valley of the Kings. Some of the paintings on the walls were messy or looked like the artist just quit in the middle of a sentence. Even the stone box that held the coffin had chipped corners, like the workers had to force it into the room. This led scientists to believe that many of the treasures in the tomb were not even made for Tut. This fast burial might have been a cover for a much deeper secret regarding the royal bloodline. Basically, some of the most famous objects found in the tomb look like they belong to a woman. They found jewelry and statues that had feminine features, which was very strange for a male king. Then they looked at the gold mask again and saw a massive red flag. The mask has pierced ears. In ancient Egypt, only children and women wore earrings on their burial masks. An adult male king would never be shown with holes in his ears for jewelry. This was a huge clue that something was wrong with the official story. Some people also noticed that the face part of the mask looked a bit different from the rest of the headpiece. The gold on the face was a slightly different shade of red compared to the gold stripes. A wild theory started to form among the experts. What if the priests were in such a panic to meet the 70-day deadline that they just grabbed a mask made for someone else? They might have changed the face and stuck it on the mummy just to get the burial done on time. If the mask did not belong to the boy king, then who was the original owner? The answer to this question leads directly to a queen who was meant to rule the world. Everyone's obsessed with the mystery of Queen Nefertiti because she was Tut's stepmother and a very powerful leader. She vanished from the history books right around the time Tut took the throne. Many historians think she actually ruled the country under a new name after her husband passed away. If she was a pharaoh, she would have had her own golden mask being prepared. It would explain the pierced ears and the more delicate look of the face on the mask. For many years, this was just a guess that people talked about in secret. There was no way to prove it because nobody was allowed to cut into the mask to check the gold. It stayed in the museum in Cairo for a long time as a mystery that nobody could solve. The secrets of the gold were locked away behind the fame of the king. However, some researchers believe Nefertiti was not just a queen, but a guardian of ancient technology that the mask was designed to control. Atomic scans reveal the gold was recycled from a much older and more powerful source. A huge accident at the museum changed the entire path of this investigation. In the year 2014, something terrible happened during a simple cleaning. The long braided beard on the mask snapped off. The workers at the museum panicked and did something very bad. They tried to fix it with industrial glue called epoxy, which is used for fixing cars or pipes. They put a giant glob of glue on the chin and stuck the beard back on. It was a total mess, and they even got glue on the golden face. The world freaked out when they found out that the most famous treasure in history was damaged by a tube of cheap glue. The government had to bring in a team of experts from around the world to fix the damage. A German man named Christian Ekman led the team, and he realized this was a big chance to study the mask up close. He was going to use modern science to finally answer the question about the original owner. This moment of damage allowed a brief look at the internal structure that had been sealed for millennia. The team used high-tech X-rays to look at the chemicals inside the metal of the mask. This tool is called XRF, and it can read the chemical fingerprint of the gold atoms. If the face had been cut out and replaced, the scan would show different types of gold or solder marks where the metal was joined together. They spent months scanning every single inch of the golden surface. When the results finally came in, the history books were ready to be rewritten, but the findings actually made everyone sigh in relief. The scan showed that the gold in the face and the gold in the headpiece were a perfect match. They seemed to come from the exact same batch of metal. The team also found that the name of the king was original and had not been changed. They said the pierced ears were just a style choice, and the mystery was officially closed. The world went back to believing the mask was 100% made for King Tut. But some theorists suggest that the gold was actually designed to reorganize its own atoms, hiding any evidence of a swap from basic X-rays. That's putting it lightly, because a small group of scientists still felt like the X-ray results were wrong. They argued that the ancient workers were much smarter than we think. They believed the X-rays were not strong enough to see the real history of the gold. If the workers used the same gold to plug the ear holes or hide the seams, a regular X-ray would just see it as one solid piece. To find the truth, they needed a technology that could see things at the level of atoms. This is where quantum resonance imaging comes into the story. This new tech does not just take a flat picture like a camera. It fires a beam of particles that bounce off the atoms and tell us how the metal was heated and hammered. It can tell if a piece of gold was cooled down once, or if it was melted and shaped multiple times. A secret team called Project Osiris got permission to do a new scan in the year 2024. They waited until the museum was closed and wheeled in a massive machine that hummed quietly in the dark. What they were looking for was not just a name, but proof that the mask was actually a piece of an ancient power grid. This golden machine was never meant to be buried in the sand forever. The ghost in the atoms. The quantum scan showed something called thermal ghosts that the X-rays missed completely. The data showed that the gold around the face had been heated to a much higher temperature than the rest of the mask. This means the face was definitely cut out, and a new one was put in its place. The ancient workers were so good at their jobs that they attached the new face from the back using high-pressure heat. This kept the front looking perfect and invisible to normal light. But the quantum particles could feel the stress in the atoms from that heat. The mask was officially a two-piece object that had been joined together in a secret workshop. The team also looked at the earlobes and found two perfect gold plugs. The original mask had big holes for earrings, but the workers filled them in with rods of gold and polished them until the seams disappeared. The quantum scan saw the difference in how the gold grains were lined up inside those plugs. These plugs were not just for fashion. They were sealing off internal channels that some believe carried a strange liquid energy. The most shocking part of the scan was what they found under the king's name. The quantum machine can look at the way the metal was hammered thousands of years ago. It found that the gold in that spot had been beaten flat and scraped very hard before the new name was carved. The computer was able to use the tiny traces of the first hammering to rebuild the original name. The name that appeared on the screen was not Tut. It was a name used by Queen Nefertiti when she was ruling the land. This was the smoking gun that proved the mask was stolen from her tomb to bury the boy king. The story of the mask was a giant cover-up to hide a royal theft. It turns out the most famous face in history was actually meant for a queen who has been missing for centuries. This theft suggests that the priests were terrified of what would happen if the king was buried without this specific golden tool. So, Here's the deal. King Tut's burial was the biggest rush job in history. His successor probably took the king's original big tomb and gave him a tiny one instead. In the panic of the 70-day deadline, the priests had to get creative. They took Nefertiti's mask, swapped the face for a likeness of Tut, plugged the ears, and changed the name. They did such a good job that it took 3,000 years and quantum physics to catch them. This discovery changes the way we look at ancient Egypt and its treasures. It makes you wonder what other secrets are hiding inside the gold that we simply cannot see yet. The mask is still a masterpiece, but now we know it tells a story of survival and desperate choices during a time of chaos. But some wild theories go even further, claiming the mask was actually meant to store the memories of the person wearing it. Ancient records might be stored within the very atoms of the gold. What most people don't realize is that history is often just the story that survived, not the whole truth. We see these beautiful things in museums and assume everything happened exactly as the labels say. But the gold of the pharaohs is full of hidden messages and recycled parts. The boy king might have been famous for his wealth, but much of it was actually borrowed or stolen from those who came before him. It really makes you think about what else might be missing in the Valley of the Kings. Could there be other masks that were swapped or other names that were erased from history? The technology we have now is finally starting to peel back the layers of the past to show the real people behind the gold. If the mask was truly a memory storage device, the quantum scan might have just unlocked the thoughts of a queen who lived thousands of years ago. Ancient artisans worked with tools that seemed simple, but their skill was way beyond what was imagined. They knew how to manipulate gold at a level that fooled scientists for over 100 years. They were masters of the forge and the hammer, who could hide their mistakes and their secrets with ease. The fact that they could join two pieces of gold without leaving a single mark on the surface is incredible. It shows that the people of Egypt were not just builders of pyramids, but also masters of chemistry and physics in their own way. They created objects that were meant to last forever, and they almost succeeded in keeping their secrets buried in the sand. Some suggest these artisans were taught by a civilization that existed long before the first pharaoh ever took the throne. The thing is, the world is only just beginning to use these quantum tools to explore the ancient world. There are thousands of artifacts that have only been looked at with basic cameras or X-rays. If one mask can hide a secret this big, imagine what might be found inside the Great Pyramids or the hidden chambers that have not been opened yet. The field of history is entering a new era where guessing is no longer necessary. The actual history of the objects and the hands that made them is becoming clear. It is a very exciting time to be a fan of the ancient world because the truth is finally coming to light. There are even rumors that the blue glass in the mask is not glass at all, but a form of ancient silicone used for advanced circuits. Every single blue stripe could be a wire in a massive computer, the quantum server room. This leads to some of the wildest theories in the field. Some believe that the mask was not meant for burial at all, but was a functioning piece of technology used by the pharaohs to communicate with something beyond the world. The blue lapis lazuli and the gold stripes might have acted as conductors for a type of energy only now starting to be understood. If this is true, then King Tut was not just buried with a pretty mask. He was buried with a high-tech tool that he didn't even know how to use. The priests might have changed the face and the name to ensure that the connection remained with the current ruler, even in the afterlife. This would mean the entire Valley of the Kings is actually a giant, underground server room for ancient data. Another theory suggests that Nefertiti did not just vanish, but was hidden away because she had successfully used the mask to achieve a higher state of being. The priests might have been so afraid of her power that they tried to erase her name from every golden object in the kingdom. By putting her mask on Tut, they were effectively grounding her power and making sure she could never return. This would turn the boy king's tomb into a sort of prison for the queen's spiritual influence. The 70-day rush was not about the king's death, but about making sure the queen's power was neutralized as fast as possible. This changes the tomb from a place of rest into a site of a massive, ancient technological battle. As the quantum scans continue, more details about the microscopic structure of the gold are emerging. Scientists have found that the gold atoms in certain parts of the mask are arranged in patterns that do not occur naturally. This suggests that the Egyptians had a way to manipulate matter at an atomic level, a feat only starting to be achieved today. If they had this power, then the pyramids and the massive statues they built make much more sense. They were not moving giant stones with ropes and pulleys. They were changing the weight of the objects themselves. The mask was the key to this power, acting as a remote control for the entire kingdom. The reason this tech has not been found yet is because it was designed to break down into simple gold if it was ever tampered with. The mask might be the only surviving piece of a lost world. The mystery of the mask also touches on the strange curse that people talk about. Many of the people who first opened the tomb passed away under strange circumstances. While many dismiss this as a myth, some theorists believe it was a primitive security system. The mask might have been coated in a biological or radioactive material that was meant to protect the pharaoh's technology from thieves. When the tomb was opened, these defenses were triggered, leading to the health problems of the explorers. The quantum scan might eventually find traces of these ancient alarms hidden within the microscopic layers of the gold and jewels. This would mean the mask is still active and watching everyone who looks at it today. Looking at the mask now, it is hard to see it as just a museum piece. It feels more like a sleeping giant that is waiting for the right person to wake it up. The quantum results have given a glimpse into a world that was much more advanced than ever thought possible. Humans are like children playing with a supercomputer, only seeing the shiny casing and not understanding the magic inside. The truth about King Tut and Queen Nefertiti is just the beginning. As more treasures from the tomb are scanned, the entire history of the human race might need to be rewritten from scratch. The Golden Boy was never the main character. He was just the one holding the treasure for others to find. There is also the possibility that the rush job was a result of a sudden civil war or a religious uprising. The change from the sun, god Aten, back to the traditional gods was a very messy time in Egypt. Nefertiti was the face of the old way, and Tut was the face of the new. By putting her mask on him, they were literally forcing the new king to wear the face of the past while claiming the future. It was a political move made in gold. The quantum scan has captured the physical evidence of this struggle, showing the scars of a nation that was trying to fix itself after a period of massive change. The gold plugs in the ears are like the bandages on a wounded country, hiding the truth so that life could go on. The gold mask is a witness to a war for the throne. The stolen legacy. As moves forward are made, the Grand Egyptian Museum will be the site of even more amazing discoveries. The Project Osiris team is planning to scan the other coffins and the royal throne using the same quantum technology. They hope to find more hidden names and more evidence of ancient high-tech. The world is watching with bated breath, wondering what the next atomic scan will reveal. Will it be found that the pyramids were built by machines? Will it be found that the pharaohs were talking to stars? The gold is finally starting to talk, and the story it is telling is much more incredible than any legend or myth ever heard. Every atom in that mask has a memory, and the world is finally learning how to listen to them. Some experts have started looking at the lapis lazuli stripes with even more care. This blue stone was not just for color. In quantum physics, certain crystals can be used to store information in a way that lasts for millions of years. If the ancient Egyptians knew this, the mask might be a literal hard drive containing the records of their entire civilization. The hieroglyphs on the back might not just be spells, but access codes for a digital vault hidden within the stones. When Howard Carter first touched the mask, he might have accidentally activated a download process that is still running today. This would explain why the curse seemed to follow the team. The machine was merely defending its data from unauthorized users. There is even a theory that the mask acts as a biosyncing device. In this view, the mask was designed to bond with the DNA of the ruler. When the face was swapped, the connection was broken, causing the ghost signatures found by the quantum scanner. The artisans had to work fast to trick the machine into accepting Tut as the new user. They failed in some areas, which is why the thermal ghosts appear around the edges of the face. The mask knew it was being tampered with. This suggests that the ancient Egyptians viewed the soul and the body as part of a biological computer system that could be hacked if you had the right golden tools. A royal hack changed the course of ancient history. The weight of the mask is also a point of interest. 22 pounds of gold is exactly the amount needed to create a resonance chamber for certain frequencies. Some researchers have suggested that the mask was used in rituals where sound was played to induce visions. The gold would vibrate in harmony with the stones, creating a field of energy around the wearer's head. This would allow the pharaoh to see into other times or places. If King Tut was buried with this tool, it was likely because the priests believed he would need to continue this communication in the afterlife. They weren't just burying a king, they were burying a telecommunications hub. What if the quantum scan is actually picking up on signals that are still being sent? Some members of the Project Osiris team have reported that their equipment behaves strangely whenever it is near the mask. They have seen spikes in data that do not have a clear source. It is as if the mask is still trying to transmit information to a receiver that is no longer there. This has led to the theory that the mask is a beacon, intended to guide someone or something back to Earth. If the pharaohs believed they came from the stars, the mask was their way of making sure their home could find them again. The gold is not just a treasure. It is a signal fire that has been burning for 3,000 years. The choice of materials in the mask also hints at advanced knowledge. The red gold of the face is an alloy that is very difficult to make. It requires a precise mix of copper and silver that remains stable over long periods. The fact that the Egyptians could create this consistently suggests they had a deep understanding of metallurgy that matches modern standards. They weren't just lucky. They were scientists. The quantum scan has shown that the red gold was chosen specifically for the face to create a different thermal profile than the rest of the mask. This was a deliberate design choice, likely related to how the mask interacted with the wearer's skin or energy field. The gold was engineered to react to the human body. The high-tech hand-me-downs. The mystery deepens when looking at the other items in the tomb. Many of them also show signs of being altered or repurposed. The golden throne has a scene that was clearly changed to include Tut's name over another one. It seems the entire royal treasury was a collection of high-tech hand-me-downs. This suggests that the Golden Age was actually a period of decline, where the Egyptians were struggling to maintain the advanced technology left behind by an earlier, even more powerful era. They were using the leftover tools of the gods to keep their kingdom running. The mask is the most important of these tools, and its secrets are the key to understanding this lost history. As the text reaches its final sections, the focus remains on the implications of these discoveries. The quantum scan has opened a door that cannot be closed. We now know that the past was much more complex than the simple stories found in textbooks. The artisans of Egypt were masters of the atomic world, and their works are a testament to a level of knowledge that was lost for thousands of years. The Mask of King Tut is just the tip of the iceberg. Beneath the sand, there are surely more treasures waiting to be found, each one holding a piece of the puzzle that is our shared history. The gold is finally revealing its secrets, and the world will never be the same. The atoms of the past are building the future of our understanding. The final thought on this topic is about the people who made the mask. They worked in a world that was very different from ours, yet they achieved things that still shock us today. Their dedication to their craft and their knowledge of the natural world allowed them to create something that has survived for over 3,000 years. Whether it was a simple burial mask or a piece of advanced technology, it remains a masterpiece of human achievement. The quantum scanner has shown us the hands of the workers, the choices of the priests, and the secrets of the kings. It is a story written in golden atoms, and it is finally being read. The mask now sits in its new home, a silent witness to the passing of ages. But it is no longer just a face in a case. It is a mystery that has been partially solved, yet still holds so much more to discover. The next time anyone looks at the golden face of King Tut, they should remember that there is another face hidden beneath, and another story waiting to be told. The gold is a bridge between worlds, connecting us to a time that was as strange as it was beautiful. The journey to understand the mask is far from over, and the best parts of the story might still be waiting to be found. The golden mask is a map to a history we are only just starting to explore. History is not a dead subject. It is alive and changing every day. Every new tool we invent and every new scan we perform gives us a different view of where we came from. The quantum imaging of King Tut's mask is a perfect example of how science can breathe new life into the past. It has turned a well-known artifact into a brand new mystery, sparking a conversation that will last for years to come. The field of Egyptology is being reborn in the light of quantum physics, and the results are truly shocking for everyone involved. The golden age of discovery is not behind us. It is happening right now. Does this prove the mask was a complex machine, or just a clever royal lie? This discovery leaves the world wondering if the pharaohs were far more advanced than ever imagined, or if they were simply the greatest storytellers to ever live. Asking for likes and subscriptions helps bring more of these incredible secrets to light. Stay tuned for the next deep dive into the mysteries of the ancient world.